Can I ask you a question? Where have you abandoned yourself this week? Was it the conversation you knew you needed to have? The boundary you knew you needed to set? The walk, the journal, the meditation, the workout, the book sitting on your nightstand that you keep telling yourself you'll get to tomorrow? Or maybe it was something even quieter. Maybe you knew exactly what you were feeling and found a way not to feel it. Why? Why, friend? Why do you abandon yourself? I think what makes this so frustrating, and sometimes we feel anger as well, is that a part of you already knows better. You know what's keeping you stuck. You know what needs your attention, and yet you still find yourself choosing everyone and everything else, before you choose yourself. So in this episode, we're exploring why you keep abandoning the very things you know will help you heal, will help you grow and move forward, how self-abandonment becomes a nervous system survival strategy, and what it actually takes to stop leaving yourself behind. But before we move into today's conversation, I want to share a beautiful note that came in from one of my beautiful coaching clients and also somebody who bought my book, my dear, dear friend Monica. She left a review that honestly captures the exact threshold we're talking about in today's episode. She said, "It's not just something you read once and forget about it. It helped me become more aware of what was holding me back and how to start living in deeper alignment with myself." And honestly, Monica, I love you and I appreciate everything about this review. And this is the heart of the work. And it's why I created She Who Aligns. I didn't create it to give you more information, to intellectually understand yourself. I created it to help you bridge that gap, the gap between knowing your patterns and actually practicing self-loyalty, sovereignty every single day in your life. Because understanding why you do the things you do, yes, that's very important. And that's the first step. But understanding them is not the same as living differently. And She Who Aligns is designed to help you reconnect your mind, your body, your nervous system, your energy, your spirituality, so you can stop unconsciously leaving yourself every time life becomes hard. So if you are telling yourself that you're ready to move beyond survival patterns and into deeper self-trust, integration, and alignment, I am going to leave the link to She Who Aligns in the episode show notes so that you can go ahead and download the beautiful book. Okay, friend, now let's get into today's episode. Welcome to Rewire to Align, a space where we break the patterns keeping you stuck and bring your brain, nervous system, and energy back into coherence. I'm Michelle Murray, neurospiritual alignment coach and creator of Align. This is where neuroscience meets spirituality and where you stop overthinking and start understanding what's actually driving your reality. If you're ready to see yourself clearly and finally shift what's been looping, you're in the right place. Hello, friend. Welcome back to Rewire to Align. My name is Michelle Murray, and every Tuesday we're here talking about alignment, about a little bit of neuroscience and spirituality and other tools that I love, like human design, universal law, a little bit of psychology, internal family system, all these things that I have used in my life to create a life that I can sustain, right? A life in alignment, because alignment is the coherence between your mind, your body, your energy, your nervous system, your identity, and actions so you can create a life you actually have the capacity to hold. This is episode 80, and it's going to live under the neuromindset category inside the episode catalog. Have you checked out the episode catalog? Because over there, you can actually search by category and binge on those that you need to hear or that you feel drawn to. And the link is going to be in the show notes for you. Today, we are talking about self-abandonment. And I knew this a conversation that we needed to have because I have seen it a lot lately around me. And maybe it's something that you are doing yourself in your life. Maybe you already know where you are abandoning yourself. You know the loops. You know the overthinking, the emotional exhaustion, the avoidance, the people pleasing, the numbing, when you go ahead and watch Netflix instead of doing what you need to do, the inconsistency, the disconnection. And maybe what's exhausting and frustrating now is not the lack of awareness, but the fact that you still find yourself repeating the same emotional cycles. Because at some point, the question stops being, what's wrong with me? And becomes, why do I keep doing this even when I know I have to sit down and I have to do the work? Or even when I know I have to take time for myself, even when I know, fill in the blank. So today we're going deeper than boundaries or surface level self-care. We're talking about self-awareness alone doesn't stop self-abandonment, how these patterns become wired into the nervous system as emotional survival strategies, and what it actually means to stop leaving yourself every time life becomes emotionally uncomfortable or uncertain, activating, or hard. And I've seen this pattern show up so many times in both clients, in the people that I truly love. And honestly, it usually sounds something like this. I know what I need to do. Oh, I know what would help me. Oh, I know I need to slow down. I know I need to rest. I know I need to leave, to commit, to heal, to start, to stop, to follow through. And yet, the exact moment you get close to actually doing the thing that would reconnect you to yourself, something inside of you pulls you away. Suddenly, you're distracted. You're too tired, you're scrolling, you're overcommitting, you're emotionally overwhelmed, or completely hyper-focused on making sure everybody else around you is okay. You talk yourself out of it. You convince yourself you're gonna start tomorrow when life it's a little easier, when I have the time, when I have the space. I mean, we've all done that. Don't believe that I'm talking to you directly. Yes, I am, but you're not the only one. We all do that. Guilty as charged, right? And what's interesting is that most of the time, you're not unaware while it's happening. A part of you is actively watching yourself abandon your own needs in real time. And I remember having a conversation with a client who shared this with me so deeply. She stood across from me and said, Michelle, I bought the book you recommended. I made the tea. I set aside time on my calendar to do this. And somehow, I still found a way to avoid sitting with myself. So needless to say, I haven't started. It blew my mind. And that moment stayed with me because it was such an honest articulation of what self-abandonment actually feels like. It's not always dramatic, friend. Sometimes it's just a quiet choice to live your own inner reality the second a boundary feels heavy or the room feels tense or discomfort arrives. Because for a long time, staying disconnected, distracted, productive, needed, or emotionally quote unquote fine was the only version of safety your system knew. I think one of the biggest misconceptions in personal growth, personal development, is the idea that awareness alone should automatically create change. Because, once you can see the pattern, you assume you should be able to stop the pattern. And I see this a lot. I have a lot of friends that are very aware of their patterns, but they are not stopping the pattern. You finally understand why you're people pleasing. You recognize the relationship is not aligned. You know you're overextending yourself. You know you're emotionally exhausted. You know you need to make a change. And yet, you still find yourself doing the very thing you promised yourself you wouldn't do again. Why? Psychologically, that can feel incredibly exhausting and defeating because you start asking yourself, if I know better, why am I still doing this? But psychologically and neurologically, awareness and survival are operating from two very different systems inside of you. And this is this is the meat of the episode, so I want you to really pay close attention. Your awareness. Let's start there. Your awareness lives largely in the conscious, observing mind. It's the part of you that can recognize what is happening. It's the part that notices that you're stuck in the same loop. It notices you're abandoning your needs. It notices you're tolerating something that no longer feels aligned. Now, I want you to take a deep breath and find yourself. Where are you? Are you in here? In this awareness where you know that you're abandoning your needs? Okay, now let's move forward. Self-abandonment is rarely a conscious decision. And I'm going to say it again. Self-abandonment is rarely a conscious decision. It's often a survival response. Research around attachment, around trauma, and nervous system regulation consistently shows that when emotional safety feels threatened, the brain will often prioritize protection over authenticity. Listen, friend, the nervous system does not ask, what's aligned? It asks, what feels safest? And those are not always the same thing. If disconnecting from your needs once help you avoid rejection, maybe conflict or criticism, maybe abandonment, shame, emotional unpredictability, or disappointment, your body may have learned that leaving yourself, right, abandoning yourself is safer than staying connected to yourself. That's why awareness alone doesn't stop the loop, because the loop was never created by a lack of awareness. It was created by adaptation. You adapted yourself at some point in your life. And I think this is where so many people misunderstand themselves. I've had clients tell me, like the client that told me, like I told you, she said, I bought the book, I made the tea, I blocked the time in my calendar, but then I didn't do anything, so I haven't read the book. I'm sorry. Maybe you have experienced that too. Maybe there's a part of you that genuinely wants to heal, to grow, to change, to move forward, to work on your next level. A part of you that knows what would support you, knows what needs to shift, and knows exactly what is no longer aligned. But every time you get close to actually taking that step, committing to the habit, creating the rituals, having the conversation, feeling the feeling, right? Or choosing yourself differently, something inside seems to pull you in another direction. Suddenly, I don't know what it is. You have 500 commitments. Like you want to go to the party, to the birthday party, to the theater. You want to go to the concert. You want to see live music. I mean, you're busy. You find yourself scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on Facebook, scrolling on LinkedIn, whatever platform you like, Pinterest, right? Other people's needs become more urgent than your own. You start, moving your calendar around your children, around your husband, around your wife, around your partner, around your friends. Are you there? Do you see yourself doing this? You convince yourself that you're going to start tomorrow when things calm down, when you have more time, when you're in a better mood. Oh my God, when life gets easier. Oh my God, because I'm exhausted today. I cannot do it today. From the outside, it can look like self-sabotage. It can, 100%. People say, yes, you're self-sabotaging. But from an internal family systems perspective, because I love to bring that here, and you know that I do internal family systems in my coaching, what often looks like sabotage is actually protection, because there may be another part of you carrying a very different job. While one part of you wants the growth, the healing, and the change, another part is trying to prevent pain, is trying to keep you from feeling disappointment, from feeling frustration, from feeling anger, from feeling grief, loneliness, rejection, uncertainty, vulnerability, or the discomfort that often comes when you finally stop avoiding what you already know needs your attention, right? The discomfort. Because when you're growing is new. It's going to be uncomfortable. And when those parts are operating beneath conscious awareness, it can create an exhausting internal battle. I know that you have felt it. I felt it too. One part of you wants to move forward, while another part of you is convinced that staying where you are is better and safer. The problem is that most people make that tension mean something is wrong with them, right? Have you done that to yourself? All of a sudden you're saying that you're lazy or inconsistent, or that you lack motivation, or that you're not disciplined. Like you're hitting yourself, right? You're self-flagellating. But often what you're experiencing is not a character flaw. It's a protective system doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping you away from experiences it believes might overwhelm you. This is a protector part, keeping your inner child safe. One of the articles I was reading while I was preparing to write this script and record this episode shared a line that recontextualized everything for me. And wow, if your inner experiences were ignored, you may have learned to ignore yourself. Yes, let that land for a second. I'll repeat it. If your inner experiences were ignored, you may have learned to ignore yourself. And honestly, I think that's the root of so many emotional loops. Think about it. Because if your feelings were minimized, or if your needs felt inconvenient, and if your emotions were not consistently supported when you were young, then self-abandonment was not dysfunction. It was intelligence, it was survival, it was adaptation. The problem is that what helped you survive at one stage of life can quietly keep you stuck in another. And that's why you feel sometimes, oh my God, I'm misaligned. Oh my God, I need to change. Oh my God, I feel that I need to work on myself, etc., etc. This is why inside my Align to Sovereignty process, awareness is only the first step. Awareness is the one that helps you recognize the pattern, right? When you know that, oh my God, I have this thing that I do all the time and I need to get better at it or change it. Then liberation helps you understand the survival strategy underneath the pattern. Integration is where you stop organizing your life around survival and begin returning to yourself. Not the conditioned self that learned all those beliefs, or the performing self, or the survival self, but the version of you that existed before you learned to abandon your own needs, abandon your own emotions, or your intuition and your truth. Because knowing you deserve more and feeling safe enough in your body to choose more are not the same thing. And that's where nervous system work becomes so important. The nervous system is always choosing familiarity before possibility, even when the familiar is exhausting, even when familiar is misaligned, and even when familiar is the very thing you're trying to leave behind. That's why we go in loops. And that's why we're very frustrated and angry when we find ourselves in the same spot again and again. Because what happens is that familiarity has evidence. It has evidence. Alignment, right? Aligned often requires faith. And spiritually, this may be one of the places you're getting stuck without even realizing it. You're waiting to feel completely ready and completely comfortable before you stop abandoning yourself. But alignment is not the absence of discomfort, amiga mia. Alignment is choosing not to leave yourself, not to abandon yourself while discomfort is present. It's choosing to stay connected to your truth when your old survival identity wants you to disconnect. It's choosing to remain in relationship with yourself when a protector part will rather distract you, will rather do something else, please, numb, avoid, or convince you that tomorrow is a better day to begin. Because ultimately, self-abandonment, it's not just a behavior. It's a relationship. Yes, I've said it. Self-abandonment is not just a behavior, it's a relationship. And sovereignty, which is the outcome of my Aligned to Sovereignty process, begins the moment you stop abandoning that relationship with yourself every time life gets heavy, uncomfortable, or uncertain. Before we move to the last part of this episode, let's just have a real moment together. If you're listening to this, my friend, and you're recognizing these loops in your own life, the overthinking, the exhaustion, the abandoning yourself, I want you to know that this is exactly why I wrote She Who Aligns. Because look, awareness is a beautiful first step. But eventually, you realize, how do I actually stop the pattern? She Who Aligns is not just another book of definitions or more mental information for you to loop over and over in your head. It's a complete journey to return to your sovereignty through alignment using my Align process. If you're realizing that awareness is no longer the thing that's missing and you're ready to start practicing self-loyalty instead of self-abandonment, I'm going to leave the link in the show notes for you. Now, let's get back to the episode. Beautiful soul, before I let you go, I want to remind you that healing can feel incredibly lonely when you're carrying these realizations by yourself, when you start recognizing how often you've been abandoning yourself, how often you've been overriding your needs, disconnecting from your truth, or repeating patterns you thought you would have outgrown by now. It's easy to think you're the only one struggling with this, but you're not. There are so many women in this community navigating the same questions, the same growth, the same journey back to themselves. So if this episode resonated with you, I want to invite you to come join us inside the free Rewire to Align Facebook community. That's a space that I created where we continue these conversations, share insights, celebrate growth, and support one another as we move from awareness into embodiment. Because sometimes the most healing thing isn't finding another answer. It's realizing you're not alone in the question. You're going to find those links in the show notes, and I would love to see you there. And as you move through the rest of your day, I want to leave you with this question. Where in your life have you learned to abandon yourself in order to feel safe? I just want you to notice, because the moment you stop judging the pattern, you can finally begin to understand it. And every time you choose to stay connected to yourself instead of abandoning yourself, every time you tell yourself the truth, honor your needs, you listen to your intuition, or remain present with a difficult emotion, you're strengthening the relationship that matters the most. The relationship with yourself, because alignment is not becoming somebody else. It's returning to the truth of who you've always been beneath the survival patterns. And sovereignty isn't built through perfection. It's built every time you choose not to leave yourself. I'm sending you so much love, and I look forward to being with you next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I love creating it. If what you heard today resonated with you, the best way to support the show is by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps me continue creating content that empowers you and deepens your spiritual connection. Just scroll down to write a review and share your thoughts. And if you love what Rewire to Align is about, share it with your friends and family. I truly believe the world transforms when we come together to create positive change. I look forward to be with you again next week.